Good morning and welcome to another episode of The Extra Point here on ESPN 1600. As always, I'm your host, Roland Rainey, and joined with Justice Gordon from New York, Jeremy Coleman from Indiana, and Robert Parker from New Jersey. And ladies and gentlemen, we are 5 days away from the 2021 NFL Draft. There's a lot of excitement in the air. I can tell you here at the Extra Point, we are truly excited because today we will take you on a journey on our own mock draft. So I think you will see after we spent so much time with each other throughout this particular NFL season, we have a lot of picks that are similar in nature. And then we have some picks that make you go, why did he do that? So we're going to take you on that journey today. So I'm looking at my colleagues, look like they are ready. I'm ready. So here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, in the 2021 NFL Draft, with the number one pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Trevor Lawrence. I think across the board, myself and the rest of my colleagues, we decided that Trevor Lawrence will be the number one pick. So moving forward, with the number two pick, the New York Jets select Zach Wilson. Now, once again, ladies and gentlemen, across the board, my colleagues and myself, we selected Zach Wilson. A lot of you out there may be thinking, well, why Zach Wilson? Why not Fields? Why not Trey Lance? So what do you think, guys? Why do you believe Zach Wilson was our collective pick?
Yeah, I think it comes down, to system fit. From everything I'm hearing, Zach Wilson is their guy. Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh were both at his pro day. Apparently, reportedly Joe Douglas has already won over his parents. He's met them multiple times. And I just think about Zach Wilson in that Mike LaFleur new offense. The play action, heavy run scheme. I think it fits Zach Wilson very well. He does extraordinary things outside of the pocket. And I think that's what it comes down to, is just system fit.
Yeah, and kind of like what you said, Roland. You said the consensus around the league is, Trevor Lawrence is going number one. I think you could easily say the same thing about Zach Wilson. All the chatter you hear is pretty much Zach Wilson has been penciled in as that number two pick, and that's what most teams expect to happen.
And I think so. He had one hell of a pro day. He kind of has the goods. And right now, looking at the direction of the Jets, he is a great fit for that system with his skill set. Robert, you had something to add?
Yeah, I'm just agreeing with everyone else in regards to Zach Wilson being a great scheme fit for, the New York Jets. And just like you said, it's a lot of chatter out there, amongst the media and amongst the football community. And it's out there that he's actually reached out to former Jets quarterbacks kind of to pick their brain how to kind of maneuver in the Big Apple. So I think Zach Wilson is definitely the consensus number two behind Trevor Lawrence.
That is the consensus. Zach Wilson going number two. With the number three pick in the 2021 draft, San Francisco 49ers select, and this is where we have a split. So both Robert and I have Mac Jones, and Justice and Jeremy are looking at Justin Fields. So going back to you, Robert, we both selected Mac Jones. Why Mac Jones for us?
Yeah, for me, just like we talked about Zach Wilson being a great scheme fit for the New York Jets, I think, Mac Jones is a great scheme fit for the San Francisco 49ers. Everyone talks about his mental makeup and his ability to process the defense quickly. So I think that's something that Kyle Shanahan wants, in San Francisco. And we all know the injury problems that Jimmy Garoppolo has had over the history. So if you can kind of bring someone in like Mac Jones who can actually process a little bit faster than Jimmy G and kind of be available, I think the San Francisco team is right back there in the mix, being a Super Bowl contender.
I'm with you on this one. And I'm going to go back to that one word you used, system. He is a system quarterback, and he has the intellect to process what is happening on the field. This is what Kyle Shanahan likes in his quarterbacks. He likes them to process data on the field. Yes, he's going to put him in predicaments to boot him out, to allow him to showcase a little bit of his athletic skills. But at the end of the day, He has to push the ball down the field in a systematic manner. And I think this is what Mac Jones and what he's done out in Alabama, this is what he brings to the table. Now, going to the other side, we have Justice and Jeremy saying, hey, Fields is the guy. I don't know, Jeremy. Is he the guy for the 49ers?
Well, real quick, I will say I agree with you guys when it comes to Mac Jones as far as a good scheme fit. I do think he fits in very well with the 49ers. I do think Fields kind of has a higher ceiling, though. I think he has the potential to be, better. Justice kind of won me over on a previous podcast, saying that his ceiling is a lot higher. And another thing I'd like to point out real quick, Jimmy Garoppolo is still probably going to be the day one starter at quarterback. I think you could very well see Mac Jones like you guys have, or Justin Fields like we do, sitting behind Garoppolo until they feel like, the quarterback they do pick this year is ready. So with that being said, if I'm thinking of really developing a guy, Fields is the guy to me where you keep him on the bench for a year, maybe has a great year, maybe not Patrick Mahomes-esque, the first year he plays or anything, but, it's probably the intention that they have.
I hear you there loud and clear. So that one is going to be an interesting pick because we believe, and we've spoken about this earlier, that pick will determine some of the later picks and maybe upsetting the apple cart and some of the later picks like 8 and 9. So continuing on with the number 4 pick, the Atlanta Falcons select. And we got somewhat of consensus. A lot of us believe that Kyle Pitts will be the one who they select. However, we do have an outlier where, Robert, you have a different selection here. What's your thoughts on your selection for number 4 with Atlanta?
Yeah, just like you mentioned earlier, Roland, that number 3 pick, it pretty much, that's where the draft starts. If Mac Jones goes number 3 to the San Francisco 49ers, like I think he will, then I think, the domino chips is going to start falling. But if you're an Atlanta Falcons and Matt Ryan has a couple more years left on the thread on the tires, so you can kind of keep Matt Ryan there. But just like Jeremy said, Justin Fields has a high ceiling at the quarterback position. So if you're the Atlanta Falcons, you can't pass up on, once in a generational player like Justin Fields could be at the number 4 position. So I think you take him, and just like Jeremy mentioned, if San Francisco takes him at 3, he's going to be sitting behind Jimmy G for at least a year. So why not the Atlanta Falcons do the same thing? And Justin Fields is a Georgia guy. So we kind of seen that same trend with Cincinnati and Joe Burrow last year. So I think we can kind of see that again this year with the Atlanta Falcons selecting, Justin Fields at the number 4 spot if Mac Jones is off the board by then.
Justice, you want to counter that argument?
Yeah, Matt Ryan, it's yet to be seen how many years he has left, but I went with Kyle Pitts because it's just another weapon to add for that offense. I originally think they should, the top need is on the defensive side, but I just don't see anyone that high that warrants that, top 4 pick. I could see them trading out, but, since we didn't project trades in this mock draft, I think they take Kyle Pitts, and I think they, give another weapon to Matt Ryan with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley.
No, I totally agree with you there. I think that's when you're doing these mock drafts, you have to look at where people are sitting and the needs of the team. And even when they're sitting in the room, there's not a lot of high-profile players that are just going to sit there and not be taken by a team. Now, to Robert's point, we don't know what Ryan has left in the tank. They still have not bounced back from that horrible Super Bowl, and they're working overtime to make it happen. I think this may be an opportunity to Robert's argument to blow it up and start anew, or at least projecting anew for the future. But we will wait and see, but that's kind of what we're projecting right now. With the number 5 pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select. And across the board, we all selected Sewell. So coming over to you, Jeremy, what do you think Sewell is going to bring to help out the Bengals?
Well, stability at left tackle. They've kind of had a revolving door at left tackle. and they have a chance at a generational prospect in Penei Sewell to give Joe Burrow, their number one overall pick last year, who exited early last year with the ACL and the MCLs, all that. Give him a legit blindside protector. If he's there, he's got to be the pick.
You got to have it. You have to have that protection. So why not go out there and invest in a quality, hopefully long-term future protection plan for your quarterback? Because all the quarterbacks definitely need that investment. All right, with the number 6 pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select, and across the board, we have a consensus. Jamar Chase will be that selection for the Miami Dolphins. With the number 7 pick, the Detroit Lions select, and this is another one that's across the board, Devontae Smith out of Alabama. He's going to be that top pick. He's going to be that hopefully deep threat, and what a nice toy to have for their new quarterback. Someone who can actually stretch the field, but also work the inside hashes. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting, ladies and gentlemen. With the number 8 pick, the Carolina Panthers select, and across the board, we are different. So let's go ahead and we'll start with Justice. Justice, with that number 8 pick, you have Rashawn Slater. Why Rashawn? What about him is a good fit with the Panthers?
Well, actually, I have Micah Parsons to the Carolina Panthers in my mock drafts.
Okay, Micah Parsons.
Yeah, I think this would be a prime trade down spot for Carolina. But, again, with no trades, I give them the best defensive player to me in this draft is Michael Parsons. He could slip. He could slip down because of the off-field concerns. I get it. But, man, when you turn on his tape, it's truly special. This kid can do it all. He's rangy. He's quick. He can disrupt the pass. He's a good blitzer. Can hang in coverage. Needs a little work in coverage, but he can still hang. He has the athleticism to hang in coverage. And I just think it's a huge value pick for the Carolina Panthers.
What about you, Robert? Why your pick?
I went the Carolina Panthers. In this offseason, they kind of made a move with Sam Darnold. With the trade picking up Sam Darnold at the quarterback position. And we all know one thing that you have to do is protect the quarterback. So I went with Rashawn Slater at this pick for the Carolina Panthers to kind of beef up that offensive line and give Sam Darnold some protection so he can work well with Joe Brady and Matt Rule. So I think Rashawn Slater is the second best offensive line in this draft. So why not get him early? So Rashawn Slater to the Carolina Panthers.
And I believe Jeremy is also going in the same direction, right?
Yeah, I have to agree with Robert. The other thing to point out is the Panthers had some of the worst guard play of any in the league last year. Rashawn Slater's a day one starter at either guard spot, and he can give Sam Darnold protection, something he never really had in New York. So if you're going to invest 3 picks in Sam Darnold, give him another pick in an offensive lineman and protect him. Make sure he gets that chance, that second chance in Carolina.
Gotcha. Now, for every draft, you always have to have a weird, out of the blue, off the cuff, kind of dark horse out there. And mine, I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is far off the reservation. And I went there for a reason. Do I believe Sam Darnold is the answer for the Carolina Panthers? The answer is absolutely no. So if I got Fields, who is still on the board, I am not wasting that pick. I am grabbing me someone I can invest in from day one. But if I am the Carolina Panthers and I know a Justin Fields is sitting out there on the board still, I'm probably going to make that move and take him. So moving on with the number 9 pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select. And once again, we kind of have some changes here. We're not all in consensus on that one. Now, I'm going to start with Robert on this one because, Robert, I think I have you selecting the Broncos selecting Trey Lance, picking up a quarterback. Why?
So I kind of view this as, kind of Green Bay selecting Jordan Love, in last year's draft. Kind of being that heir apparent to Aaron Rodgers. I know Drew Lock hasn't been out in Denver that very long, but, just from hearing the chatter and everything surrounding that team, it really doesn't seem like, the Denver Broncos as an organization is sold on Drew Lock. They went out, last year's draft and got some weapons with Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Tyree Cleveland, and they got Melvin Gordon in the backfield. But it just seems like, from the quarterback position, it never really kind of came together. And Drew Lock is, to his credit, he's kind of been banged up and beat up, so he hasn't really been playing that much. But just like you said, if you have this pick, and Drew Lock might not be the quarterback of the future moving forward, why not, take Trey Lance? Because, last year around this time during the offseason, it was talks about Trey Lance potentially being the top 3 quarterback that could get drafted. With the opt-outs and with COVID, you really didn't get to see him to play because he kind of opted out the season, and this draft kind of, his draft stock kind of took a tumble. But I think Trey Lance could be, one of those once-in-generational players at the quarterback position with a high ceiling. So why not grab him when you have a chance, knowing the New England Patriots and other teams might try to move up to get him? So if you're the Denver Broncos, take Trey Lance at number 9.
So, with the exception of Roberts' quarterback pickup by the Broncos at 9, you have something very interesting between Jeremy, Justice, and myself. I'm looking at Parsons. Jeremy is also looking at Parsons. And then Rashad Slater, Justice, that's who you're looking at with that pick. And ironically, vice versa, going back to the number 8 selection, we had Parsons in that arena. So I believe Slater and Parsons, probably can go number 8 or number 9. Either one is good for both of those individuals. They would be good fits in either one of those organizations. So even though we are different, we have somewhat of the same thought process on where those individuals would land. Now, for this particular episode, ladies and gentlemen, we're only going to go up to the top 10 picks in the draft. If you want to catch the rest of the draft, mock draft selections, please go to our Facebook page, go to our Twitter account, and we will have the remainder of our mock draft laid out there for you so you can do some compare and contrast amongst all of us. So with that being said, with the number 10 pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select. We came up with a unanimous choice, and that's Patrick Surtain. Why do they need that defensive player?
Did you see them get burned countless times last year? That defense was just,
yes.
Other world bad. Like, they need someone opposite Trevon Diggs, ironically, another Alabama cornerback, this is a guy, Patrick Surtain can come in and learn on with Trevon Diggs already being there. They know each other. Just seems like a good fit, and they need to really anchor down that secondary after allowing Byron Jones to leave in free agency last year.
I totally agree. It is clear that no matter how many before their quarterback got injured, before having the red-headed bandit come in and not produce much of anything, the points that they were putting up were points enough to win games. The counter argument and the problem to that is their opponents were outscoring them relentlessly, ongoing. And it was because of the defensive play. Defense suffered a tremendous amount of injuries. Those cornerbacks were getting burnt left and right. They need some serious help on the defensive side of the ball. What's your take on that, Robert?
Yeah, I'm right with all you guys. I really think, the Dallas Cowboys need help on the defense side of the ball. And just like Jeremy said, they drafted Trayvon Diggs, last year at the corner position. So why not draft another Alabama, person at the corner position, which I think is a better prospect. He can definitely come in and play day one. He tested very, very well at his pro day. And I think, he's just a student of the game. I mean, he had his father to play in the NFL at a high level. So I think, that making that transition from Alabama to the NFL won't be that hard for him because he's been around it all of his life. And he's just a good player that can probably, take away one side of the field once he gets going and once he gets a little bit more experience. So I think it's a high pick for a high quality, defensive back in Patrick Surtain Jr.
I agree. I think we all are in consensus on that one. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, for all of you listening out there, please go to our Facebook page, go to the Twitter account, and take a look at the rest of our mock draft picks. I think, once again, you'll see a lot of similarities, but there might be a few offshoots that may have you go, And speaking of, there are a few picks that we want to quickly highlight. So let's start off with Justice out there in New York. Justice, give us one of your picks that seems to be an outlier within this mock draft.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Giants at 11, taking Jalen Phillips at the defensive end on Miami. He's the consensus, top edge rusher in this class. He provides tremendous athleticism, tremendous quickness on the edge. He has good hand usage, active hands. Could use a little work on the technique, but with the injuries and everything, it's a risky pick to say the least. He's had 2 to 3 concussions. He's retired before from football. It's definitely a risky pick, but with the Giants adding Kenny Galladay in free agency, I don't see them adding another wide receiver at that pick. Edge rush has been a need for them for a while. And, why not take a chance and grab a potential star in Jalen Phillips?
Jeremy, who is your offshoot?
My outlier would be Creed Humphrey. I have him going to the Raiders at pick 17, probably a little higher than the rest of you guys had him. The Raiders shipped off Rodney Hudson. They shipped off Gabe Jackson. I felt like they really could use a day one starter, and I think that's what Creed Humphrey can bring to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Robert, who is your outlier?
Maybe so, not an outlier, but I can see, Devontae Smith actually dropping in the draft. It was a lot of talk about him being a top 5, top 10 pick. I actually have him listed in my mock to the San Diego Chargers, and we know the Chargers on the offense side of the ball. Keenan Allen is a stud, but once again, Keenan Allen has had some history problems with injuries, and same thing with Mike Williams. He had some injuries coming out of Clemson. So I think Devontae Smith could actually drop down to the Chargers or past the Chargers. So I think that's probably more so my outlier right there. And Devontae Smith draft stock dropping, especially with him weighing in under 170 pounds.
That's true. That I think is going to give a lot of teams a moment of pause out there. For me, I got number 20, the Chicago Bears taking Davis Mills, quarterback. When I look at this young man, he does not have that high profile status like your Trevor Lawrence, like your Zach Wilson, but he is a all around solid quarterback. When you look back at his time at Stanford, you're looking at 3,468 career passing yards in 13 games out of 11 starts, 18 TDs. Then he also had 141.94 for his career passing rating. The guy is solid. And guess what the Chicago Bears need? They need a solid quarterback. Someone who can actually catapult them into the future. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for joining us today here on the Extra Point as we go through our mock draft. But here's what I want to let all of you out there know. Tune in next week because we will start the draft off here at the Extra Point and we will take that into the weekend. So go to our Facebook page, go to our Twitter account, and definitely tune in next Saturday for the next episode of The Extra Point. On behalf of my colleagues, Justice, Jeremy, and Robert, thanks for joining us again, and we will see you next week here on The Extra Point.